That's one of the biggest parts of coming to Israel right now to volunteer, is actually showing up for Israelis and saying, we stand with you. We're here with you, and we're not just coming for the fun. We're here with you through the ups and the downs. This is our country, and we're in it with you.
So many of us have wondered what we can do to help Israel after the 7th of October massacres and how we can help Israel rebuild. Today I have the absolute pleasure of speaking to a young woman, 24-year-old Yocheved Ruttenberg from the USA. She heard about the massacres, as we all didn't know quite what to do, but she knew that somehow she needed to do something and she needed to be here to do it. So she came to Israel a couple of weeks after the war broke out, and she ended up founding what turned out to be a massive volunteer community called Sword of Iron. She has now got 45,000 members from all around the world, places like Japan and of course the US, Australia, South Africa, and all of the European countries, and an incredible eclectic collection of people who just needed to do something, wanted to do something, and came to do something. To do is to do. And that is exactly what these people did and continue to do. Here's her story of how she founded this incredible community and what she plans for the future. I'm here today. I have the absolute pleasure and honor of speaking to Yocheved Ruttenberg, who is originally from Baltimore and has an extraordinary story to tell. And just before we start with her, I'm just going to say something. I've been here in Israel for 3 weeks now, and I don't know why, but I keep coming across the most extraordinary people you have ever met in your life. Every one of them is a hero in my eyes. These people are just extraordinary. So let's start by asking Yocheved. Let me just first start by your name's unusual, Yocheved. I've never met a Yocheved before. Where does that come from?
It's actually from the Torah. Yocheved was Moshe's mom. I grew up in a super religious home. And so we all, my older brother, my younger brother, we all have super religious names. My older brother's Yehuda, my little brother's Ephraim.
And you've been in Israel for how long, and how on earth did this all happen, and what happened? All of the above.
Everything. I'll tell the whole story. I've been in Israel since October 20th, 2023. And I'll kind of back up and give you like a little background on who I am and where I come from. So like I said, I was born and raised in Baltimore in a religious home. Both my parents became religious after they got married. And so we grew up in a very like Jewish, American Jewish home. And Israel was always a big part of our home, but it was never really like shown to us, if that makes sense. Like we never visited Israel as a family. Israel wasn't really talked about, but Judaism was talked about. The religion was talked about. And then my parents got divorced when I was 10, and I totally came away from Judaism and said, like, I really just don't want this in my life anymore. And so for about 12 years, I actually wanted nothing to do with Judaism. I was totally disconnected. I actually visited Israel when I was 18 on birthright. And it's so funny to say, like, I didn't even connect Judaism to Israel when I was here. It was like Israel was its own place, and then there was Judaism. And that's kind of how disconnected I was at the time. And I went to school at Noah Southeastern University in South Florida. I graduated with a degree in marketing and a minor in psychology and entrepreneurship. And then I actually bought a travel trailer, totally renovated it myself, and I moved to Dallas, Texas, which is where I was living, working in construction sales prior to October 7th. I was literally door knocking in the middle of the summer heat in Dallas, selling roofs, climbing on roofs and checking for hail damage. And then like all of us living outside of Israel, when October 7th happened, I woke up and I just could not believe what was going on. My brother was here serving in the army, and he was supposed to be releasing after 5 years. And he was going to move to Texas, and we were going to get into some business ventures together. And October 7th happened, and he basically decided to drive straight to the south by himself and started fighting by early afternoon. So for about 2 days until Monday afternoon, we didn't really know where he was. We were getting an emoji every couple hours from him, but all we were seeing in the States was the news. Like all we were seeing were all the Telegram videos, which I'm sure you can relate to. Like it was the most helpless feeling in the world. I think all of us are going to forever sit with that feeling of waking up on October 7th and seeing what was happening, especially being outside of Israel. Um, like I said, that was just the most helpless feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. And so I called my mom and I said to her, like, I don't know what to do, but I think I need to go to Israel. And she told me, if you don't go to Israel, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You need to go, which is so funny because
Go to a war.
go to a war zone. I ask her about it now and I'm like, Mom, like, I need to get you on an interview. Like, we need to talk about this. Everybody's always shocked when I say that. And she says to me, it's not like I was sending you to a third world country. I was sending you to Israel. Like, it was Israel.
Yeah.
Your brother was there. So many other Americans, so many other Jews from around the world were there. She's like,
I spoke to an amazing woman the other day, and she told me that she thinks there's two types of Jews in the world, those that run towards and those that run away. And you're a runner towards her.
That's interesting. I think that's actually people in general. I don't know if that's specific to Jews. I think
Yeah.
you have people that tend to say, like, I have to do something and they jump
Yes.
into action.
Yes.
And then you have people that kind of sit back and say, like, okay, I'm feeling the pain of this, but what can I do? And so that kind of is a great segue into what we do. And why I actually started this organization, because I wanted to take that feeling that we were all sitting with of what can I do? And I wanted to give people a call to action and say, you have the ability to actually do something. You don't
Because in
have
the
to.
diaspora, that's been the most frustrating thing, is wanting to help, but really feeling helpless, not knowing. And you use the word helpless. It's the most frustrating thing to be just watching and not being able to do. So you managed to do this. So you arrived in Israel. I presume there was no infrastructure to this organization, which, by the way, is called Sword of Iron. I haven't mentioned that yet, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, I got to Israel and I was only supposed to come for 2 weeks. I remember my I remember my boss, I called him and I was like, I'm going to Israel. Actually, I was sitting with him having pizza and I looked at him and I said, I'm going to Israel. He was like, no, you're not. Like, what if you get stuck there? Are you out of your mind? Like, we're in the middle of selling season. What are you doing? And he said, turn your truck in. I had a work truck. He said, turn your truck in. I said, what do you mean turn my truck in? Are you firing me? Like, what is going on? He was like, no, just to be on the safe side, like turn your work truck in. And so when I called him 3 days before my return flight and I told him I wasn't coming home, he was like, yeah, I know. That's why I asked you to turn your work truck in.
He knew before you knew.
He knew, my friends knew, everybody was like, yeah, we knew you weren't coming home. I'm like, what do you mean you knew I wasn't coming home? I didn't know I wasn't coming home. I really thought I was gonna come back home in two
I
weeks.
think you didn't see it said, I'm not coming home on your forehead. You just didn't look in the mirror.
Everybody else saw it but me. So I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? First, I had to figure out how to get some stuff to Israel. I basically called one of my friends. I said, listen, she has kids that are learning how to drive. I said, if you go home, if you go to my house and you pack up my house, I'll give you my car, take my car. If your kids are learning how to drive and they crash it, crash my car, not yours. It wasn't a nice car, don't worry. But I basically was like, take my car instead. And in exchange, please pack up my house and put some stuff in a bag and I'll find somebody to bring it to Israel because at this time I was really living on just one suitcase of my own. And so, yeah, I was here in Israel and I was trying to figure out like, what do I do and how do I help? And I kind of became like this token American that was in Israel that people were like connecting me with their friends. So I was getting like really random text messages from people. Hey, I heard from this person who knew this person that you were in Israel. What do I do? How do I help? How can I get involved? And I was
It
in
was
these,
very organic. It wasn't kind of like you sat down with a marketing strategy at this point.
no, no. And I actually tell all entrepreneurs, um, sitting and strategizing is a form of procrastination. You need to just do. Sometimes you really need to just take action. And so I definitely didn't intend to be now running and building a global organization to support the state of Israel, but here we are. Um, so it started as I was in all these WhatsApp chats and they were all in Hebrew and they were just sending volunteer opportunities in Hebrew all the time and it was chaos.
How was your
Hundreds,
Hebrew?
I don't speak any Hebrew. I'm learning. I'm on Duolingo. I'm learning, but at the moment I don't speak any Hebrew. Um, and so I basically was like, okay, I'm just going to Google Translate and I'm going to post on a Facebook group. And I'm just going to try and post everything in English and start centralizing volunteering opportunities.
Hmm.
And then I realized that there was this huge need for people to understand that they could just book a flight and come to Israel. So many people didn't understand. Like I kept getting the question over and over and over again, how did you get to Israel? I was like, what do you mean, how did I get to Israel? I went on the airline, I went on El
Website.
Al and I booked my flight and I came to Israel. I didn't understand that people didn't realize that they could just come during this time.
Well, it looked like the airports were disrupted, so I guess they thought they just couldn't get here.
I realized that I needed to start telling my story and I needed to start
Mm. Communicating.
sharing the idea that you could just book a flight. Like if you're feeling like you need to come to Israel and you have the means and the ability to, you should just book a flight and you should come because there's so much volunteering out there that's needed. So I started Google translating and posting all these opportunities. I started telling my story and I started going to volunteering opportunities and sharing what it was like on the ground at these volunteering opportunities, sharing stories of volunteers, having volunteers that were now starting to use our page to find opportunities that were in Israel, share their experience and talk about what it was like to volunteer. And it started to really grow and it caught on to it created this huge volunteer movement where people were like, I want to be in the fields picking fruit. I didn't realize I could do that. Now you've given me a way to do that. And not only that, but it made people feel so comfortable actually coming to Israel because they didn't know what it was like on the ground. I mean, the news does a horrific job of sharing what it's actually like to be here on the
Mm.
ground. I was stuck outside of Israel during the Iran war, and that was horrible. I can't even explain to you that feeling of being like literally stuck. Like, how can I get back?
So you founded, at what point did this become like a charity?
So I opened up the Facebook group November 12th, 2023. And Yael Yom Tov Emmanuel joined the page the same day and she started helping. I called her and I was like, Yael, I can't do this by myself. I didn't know her before the page opened. And she was super active and she really helped build a community and still helps manage a Facebook page. And we call her the mother of all volunteers. And over the year, as we started to grow, I mean, we grew very quickly. We're coming up to 2 years in a couple months, and we're at over 45,000 people in over 28 different countries.
It's
It's
like an
huge.
army. It's an
It's
army of volunteers.
it is. It's a global movement, and what's most impressive is that we have a 70% active user rate on a regular basis, which is staggering numbers. To have that be a consistent number of active users is huge. And then basically I was like, okay, this is what I want to dedicate my life to. Like I feel like I found my purpose. I feel like I've found my mission in life. It's working with the nation of Israel, the people, everybody who supports us, helping the Jewish people. I always say there's two wars happening. There's a war on Jews, there's a war in Israel. And
Mm.
the work that I do gives me the ability to help both. And so I think it's critical that I dedicate myself to this work right now. And so I basically said, like, I want to grow this beyond a Facebook group. This needs to be a long-lasting organization for generations to come. I mean, the work that we do literally has the ability and is changing the relationship between the diaspora and people around the world and Israel and Israelis. People come
So,
and they have a very different experience with Israel than they typically would.
yes. Tell me who is the community? Is there a typical volunteer or is it just a broad range of all sorts of people?
All sorts of people. 12% of our community is Christian.
Mm.
And then we have people from all over the world, all backgrounds, all religions, the most incredible people that are just coming together. And I talk about building community and bridging the gaps between different communities globally. And I think the way to do that and why we've been so successful is because everybody that joins our Facebook group is there with a shared mission and a shared value. And that's to help and to get involved. And they're passionate and they love and they care about Israel and the Jewish people. And so that brings us together no matter where we come from. But yeah, it's people all different types of backgrounds. It's
Can you give me
really
some examples of some of these standout characters that jump to mind that you've met along the way?
like there's a woman that has come from, she came from Japan.
Japanese?
Japanese, yeah. We've had people from Korea. We've had people from literally all walks of life. And we just came out with a scholarship and we're going to be releasing the awardees actually tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
We had people from 18 different countries apply.
Amazing. And do they come for a particular length of time or they can do whatever they like from long to short?
So for the scholarship, all the awardees are going to have to do 30 hours of volunteering during their trip.
So what kind of volunteering opportunities still remain? I'm sure at the beginning of the war there was desperate need for farm and agricultural kind of volunteerism. Has it changed or is it still the same sort of volunteer opportunities?
It's not the same level of like I don't even want to say desperation, but desperation to help the
Yeah,
farmers like it
need. Yeah.
was need, yeah. But there definitely is still a farming need. Rebuilding, absolutely. There's still so much support that the soldiers need on the ground, working with animal shelters. And then there's a lot of local projects that really just need help. I mean, I always say volunteering didn't start on October 7th, but it did uncover this huge need for people to connect with Israel in a different way and want to get involved. And volunteering is such a great way to do it because it allows people outside of Israel to give back without having to join the army, without having to do national service, to really connect in a different way. And volunteers are so creative. Some of them will go and help local businesses that they find and they fall in love with, and
Yeah.
they'll use their expertise and they'll build a connection and go help
Have you
them.
had
So,
people making aliyah because they have such profound
so
experiences?
yeah, there's a lot of them. I actually just asked about it on the page the other day. We had so many responses. People being like, I'm making Aliyah. I'm thinking about making Aliyah. I'm in the process. I just made Aliyah. Yeah, for
And what
sure.
about romance? Have people met their partners through this?
They have. They have. Whether
Wow.
it's been actual, like a direct relationship between volunteers or them being here. A lot of times we've heard a lot of stories of volunteers going to barbecues and falling in love with
Oh,
Israeli soldiers.
so sweet.
Yeah, there's a really cute couple and that happened to them.
Oh my gosh.
She was barbecuing for the soldiers and
Any
she
idea how many weddings have come out of all of this?
no, but if you're listening and you met your spouse or
Please.
your partner while you're volunteering and you get married, please, I want to come to the wedding.
Oh, that's gorgeous. And, I mean, I always think that volunteering is more rewarding than it is a sacrifice, and
Please.
you get so much in return. So, what's like, give me an example of a particular, are there particular kibbutzim that you're supporting, particular projects, or for example, with the animal shelters, what kind of work is that?
Well, so we work with everybody. We centralize all volunteering efforts in Israel. So all opportunities that are open to English speakers, mostly, we are happy to support, even Hebrew speakers, but our audience is in English. And all different kinds of opportunities, like at Shanti Farms, it's a animal shelter in the north. We had a volunteer that went there and totally fell in love with the farm, ended up creating an adoption program for them. He adopted a dog from there. His name is Brad, and the dog's name is Tikva. She's kind of like the token
Sweet.
puppy of the page. And then he actually created the program so that people around the world are able to adopt dogs. And now they've placed, I think it's 10 dogs from Israel around the world. Um, and he also was able to like save up and get donations for an actual shelter for them also because they didn't have a bomb shelter and they were getting missiles from Iran and like you can't get on the ground at that place and just cover your head. They needed an actual bomb shelter and he was able to raise money for that. So people are really getting involved in many different types of ways, but we don't cherry pick. We like to work with everybody and I think that's part of the beauty of what we do is that we do work with everybody.
So, a lot of the people that are in our community in Australia and generally in the diaspora, for those who are not in Australia, are experiencing extraordinary levels of anti-Semitism, discrimination. There's a huge tsunami of hate against Israel. How do you think volunteering can help heal that sort of pain that people are going through?
It's a really good question. Um, I always come back to this. Number one, get involved in your community and strengthen yourselves. It's so important that we have a strong Jewish community outside of Israel and these other countries that are experiencing such high levels of anti-Semitism. It's so, so important that we're coming together and we're there for one another, because I think a lot of Jews are feeling very scared and alone right now. And there's no reason that Jews should be feeling scared and alone when they're surrounded by other Jews who are having that same feeling. We need to be there for one another and putting our differences aside and strengthening our communities from within. And I think that volunteerism is a great way to do that. It's a really great way to bring people together. It's a great way for you to get involved in your community and say, where are the gaps? How can we fix it? Create your own volunteering opportunities in your own communities when you see that there is a problem and there's a gap that needs to be filled, and then invite others to join you. And it will grow over time as you continue to do that, especially if you're consistent. And I just have to say this for the Jews living in Australia, please don't back down and be scared of who you are. Be loud and proud of being Jewish. Learn how to defend yourself. Learn how to fight to protect yourself so that you can feel comfortable being loud and proud. Because the second that we start hiding our Judaism, and I do really have empathy and understand that it's scary. It's very scary to walk around with your, Magen David or your kippah, especially if you don't know how to defend yourself. And there are high levels of anti-Semitism. But the more that you're able to defend yourself, the more comfortable you're going to be being outspoken and loud and proud of your Judaism. And I think it's critical right now for Jews around the world to know how to defend themselves and to be focusing on strengthening their communities from within. That's volunteering for Israel. Strengthening your community and volunteering in your community and learning how to defend yourself is fighting and volunteering for Israel. It's just not necessarily hands-on here in the country. But there's no strong Israel without a strong diaspora, and vice versa.
I was told that to Jew is to do. And I think that's what you're basically saying. We can only do part of the work, all of us, but to do nothing is not acceptable. To do everything is impossible, but do something. And it doesn't matter if it's big or small, and it doesn't matter how impactful you think you're being, just do. And I think that if we all just do a little bit more and push ourselves a little bit outside our comfort zone, we're going to find that we have immense strength in the community, both in the diaspora and in Israel. And I know that Israelis really, really appreciate. I remember when I first came to Israel and I got to the airport, the immigration officer there said to me, "What are you doing here?" They're like, there was no one at the airport. She's like, "What are you doing here?" I said, I came to bear witness for our local community and to report back. And just her face, her expression was so appreciative. And she said, "Toda, toda rabba." And I thought, I don't know, are you seeing a lot of that sort of response among the Israelis that your volunteers are working with?
I think that there's a high level of appreciation. I think that there's a newfound appreciation for people coming and visiting Israel. I think I've had very long conversations with some of my Israeli friends where they talk about the feeling of people coming to Israel and using it as their just as their playground. Israel is a great playground, right? It's so fun. It's a vacation. You get to come, you get to experience, and then you leave. And you don't necessarily deal with the hardships of actually living in this country. But seeing all the people coming during a hard time and actually helping is completely changing the dynamic and the relationship between the two. And so, yeah, for sure, the volunteers and the Israelis are connecting in different ways, and the Israelis are so appreciative. I mean, there's so many stories of Israelis literally crying and saying how can you come during this time? We're in the middle of a war. You're not scared. You're leaving your comfort zone. You're coming on your 1 week of vacation to go work the fields in the middle of the summer. Thank you. They almost can't comprehend that this is actually happening, that people are actually so selflessly coming. And so that's one of the biggest parts of coming to Israel right now, to volunteer, is actually showing up for Israelis and saying, we stand with you. We're here with you, and we're not just coming for the fun. We're here with you through the ups and the downs. This is our country, and we're in it with you.
So many Israelis, I think, are feeling so isolated at the moment. Some of them are refusing to leave the country altogether because there's such a huge tsunami of hatred and anti-Semitism out there, especially towards ex-soldiers and members of the IDF. It's actually a very beautiful thing that people come to Israel at this time because it makes, I think, Israelis feel less isolated, and it's a bit like a hand reaching out from the abyss. You know, the world seems so hostile at the moment. And it's also a beautiful thing for the diaspora Jews because they're sitting there and thinking, they feel so disempowered. They feel frightened and worried about their own communities. So reaching into Israel and doing something, I think, is just so impactful emotionally and psychologically for people who are feeling disempowered at the moment. I want to just ask you, for those who are feeling fear about coming to Israel, what are your thoughts on that?
I actually was just having this conversation. I was like, I don't understand. I have a very hard time understanding the fear of coming here, but I think that's because I live here and I am here all the time. The second I landed in the States, I was more scared than I ever have been here. I mean, you walk around Israel, it's so safe. Everybody is so giving. I was at a bakery this morning and I didn't have my phone or anything on me. I always go for a morning walk. First thing in the morning, I wanted to go get some bread. And I go to the baker. I'm like, hey, like, can I take a loaf of bread and come back and pay you later? And he was like, yeah, of course, take it. And that's such a deep level of trust amongst people. And I think that just goes to speak as to what the country actually is like. It's such a safe country. Everybody says this. And so, and I believe this to my core. I say this all the time also. It is safer here in Israel than it is outside the States. It's safer walking around Tel Aviv as a woman than it is walking around downtown in any big city in the States.
So just to stop for 1 second, just to explain to everyone, Yocheved had to move to another room, unfortunately. So we've got a different background now, but we're carrying on. I heard an amazing story that during one of the sirens, a woman went into her local makolet, which is just a local store, and she desperately needed something for her baby. She had to get some milk and some baby food. So she took it and she wrote the man a message, though he'd run away and left the whole shop open. She didn't just take the stuff. She wrote him a message saying, thank you so much. I desperately needed this milk and baby food, and I'll come back later today to fetch it. And here's my mobile number. So she left her number in case he wanted to just call her and get a credit card or something. But I just thought that's just such a classic story of trust. And, you can, instead of looting, there's this understanding that we're all in it together, to a great extent. Of course, it's not a perfect country and there are exceptions, but what kind of challenges have you personally had living here and founding this incredible organization?
I think probably one of my biggest challenges being here is number one, the bureaucracy of the country is not easy. And I think everybody will tell you that, but it's so worth it. So worth it. And it's been challenging building and growing a nonprofit, especially in the middle of a wartime, especially as quickly as we have and to the extent that we have.
Yocheved is definitely on the move. She's now in another space because it got noisy in the other one, so we've moved her again. I just wanted to ask you, kind of in wrapping up, if someone watching this is interested, what is it that they should do? How do they organize to come to Israel and volunteer?
First of all, it starts with joining our Facebook group if you have Facebook. Second of all, definitely sign up for our website. Our website has lots of information, how to book your flight, how to book your entire trip, how to find volunteering opportunities. You can sign up for our personal mentor, which will actually walk you through the entire process, start to finish. The mentors are other volunteers that have already come and have experience in this, and they can really be a great support for you. So definitely sign up for all of our resources and then book your flight. I think there's a lot of fear, like I said earlier in the podcast, like thinking and strategizing and playing different ideas in your head. What am I going to do? You'll find things to do. It starts with booking your flight and locking a date in. Book your flight, book a hotel, and then everything will fall into place from there.
Speaking of hotels, what does happen with accommodation?
So volunteers are responsible for their own accommodations. We have some volunteering opportunities that have accommodations, and then others, people just book their own Airbnb or their own hotel. I mean, it's just like any other travel, and we work with certain hotels to get different discounts for volunteers.
For people who, let's say, want accommodation as part of the package, let's say they can't afford to come and be in a hotel, is there a special kind of sub-organization that helps them do that, or is it just depends on what they're volunteering to?
It depends on what they're volunteering for. For people who want to come for long periods of time and don't necessarily want to or don't have the capacity to pay for a hotel because it can be very expensive, they go and they do like Sorrel or they do Live Note or they do a volunteering opportunity. They stay on a farm that has accommodations. They typically find a way to make it work, which is so impressive. It's people that they come and they hustle and they figure it out. And we're there to support them. And so, yeah, they find a volunteering opportunity with accommodations.
Amazing. And are they the volunteers, are they usually in groups of volunteers, or can it be one here, one there, two there, three there?
All of the above.
All of it.
Yeah, people come by themselves. People come with their families. People come on mission trips.
And socially, do they get to meet each other? Do you have any sort of meetups for the volunteers?
We do events. I'm actually working on planning the rest of the year, what we're going to be doing for the events. But a lot of them stay at the Maxim. And so they'll get together for happy hour at the end of the day at the Maxim.
Sorry, can you explain to us what Maxim is?
The Maxim is a hotel that we work with in Tel Aviv. And so a lot of them will come and they'll meet up at the Maxim in the morning for breakfast or in the afternoon. Even if they're not staying at the hotel, a lot of them will come and meet up at the hotel at the end of the day. And that's a really great way for them to actually meet each other. And they also meet each other at volunteering opportunities. It's very easy. If you're listening to this and you are coming by yourself, it's so easy to meet people while you're here volunteering. Book your flight, book your hotel, book your accommodations, and just come to Israel. We need you. Come to Israel.
Amazing. Well, Yocheved, you are definitely one of my new heroines. I'm collecting them. I think there's going to be quite a lot of competition in the heroes of Israel, but you are amazing for such a young person to be able to have the organizational skills and the energy and the enthusiasm. Can I just ask you, moving forward, where do you get your energy and your optimism? Because there's a lot of negative speak. People are getting worn out. It's 2 years into this wretched situation and people are losing momentum. How are you keeping going?
This is what I want to do with my life.
You're just passionate about it.
Yeah, there's so much work to do. Really, really, I feel like even more now than ever, we need to be stepping on the gas and going even harder. I think we're going to just go really through the roof once the war is over and people are able to get more affordable flights and they feel safer coming. There is so much work to do. And I feel blessed and honored to be in a position to be able to make a difference and to be able to help. And we've come this far. We're not giving up anytime soon. We have some really exciting things that are going to be coming out over the next couple months. And we'll hopefully make it much easier to find volunteering opportunities and get involved. So I'm just super, super excited. I get to take my passions, I get to take my dreams, and I get to put them into play for the state of the Jewish people and all of those who support. So
amazing. Yocheved, kol hakavod, as we say. Well done. And we wish you nothing but good luck and lots of strength. And we wish you nothing but koach. And we all wish for peace and for our hostages to return to us very, very soon.
Thank you so much for having me.